Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kind for being a part of the show. How are my people doing? I trust everybody's doing just fine. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Anyway, we're going to have a great show for you today. How's everybody doing? I trust you had a good weekend. I sure did. I got an impromptu visitor. My my brother-in-law just happened to call and said he and my sister were in San Antonio for one of her conferences, and guess what? He had some time while she had to do her stuff, so he drove from San Antonio to visit me right here in Texas, which was very good. Great seeing him, all of that good stuff. Anyway, folks, I just noticed I got a scratchy throat and my voice is a little bit, I don't know. Anyway, how's everybody doing? I trust everybody's doing just fine. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. AVQ is in the house. How you doing, my brother? Busiest day, better give. Got time for three shorts. Don't have a lot because I got a full schedule, but I tell you what, let's see what are the shorts about. Patrick Magner is in the house. He says meow. Let's go ahead and see what Brother Brudnin is talking about right now. Folks, I just got into the chat on the Instagram, so let's see who's for cornhole. Okay, let's see. I hope that is something that covers the subject. So I'm just going to take it on faith, Brother Rudnin, and put it out there. Let's go ahead and do that. Bear with me 1 second. All right, let's see. All right, let's do it.
Treated like a fool by the Republican Party and Fox News and some of the mouthpieces. You're about to get flooded with all this information about how Trump just struck this massive deal for 25 million metric tons a year for 3 years with China of soybeans, right? Trump saved you. The Republican Party just saved you, right? Saved your farm. You were getting 27 million metric tons. You were selling 27 million metric tons last year under Biden. He made a deal for less. And that doesn't even take into account the 6 months from May to October where there was nothing. You were getting paid nothing. The American Soybean Association estimates that soybean farmers lost an estimated $10 billion in those 6 months. $10 billion. 6 months of worry and fear and how am I going to make payments and what is going on by soybean farmers. And now Trump and the Republican Party are going to swoop in and say, like, look, we just saved you. They're the motherfuckers who took it away in the first place with this tariff war. They're the ones who made your life shitty and made you live in fear. Now they're going to give it back to you and expect you to cheer them.
Can any other history
And be like,
buffs
thank
tell
you
me?
so much. I can't believe you saved us. They're the fuckers who did it to you. Right? It's like a fucking robber coming up to you and stealing $27 and giving you 25 back and saying, are you going to thank me? Like, what the actual fuck? So watch this. Watch. It's going to be all over Fox. They're going to say, like, look at this historic deal. Incredible for farmers. I can't believe what he did for farmers. It's less than what you were getting. And you lost $10 billion in the process. Just think it through. They fucked you over. $10 billion. And now they're giving you less than what you were getting. I would not be happy. So
No, you should not be happy. Let's see what the other one is, Michael. I'll play that one. Let's go ahead and see what it says.
What happens when a large chunk of the population cannot afford to eat? The poorest members of the country are paying a majority of the taxes. A majority of the people do not have a say in what their taxes go to, and the government has very limited social programs that give back to the population, but somehow find room to pay for things like a new ballroom. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything bad that's happened that's similar to that. I've got nothing. I think the government should continuously underestimate its population. Not to mention, one of the things the government used to do to occupy most of our time was have us working 2, 3, 4 jobs. But there literally are no jobs right now. We have a lot more free time very suddenly. No, I've got nothing. There's nothing that comes to mind with this. It's a pretty unique situation that's never happened before, ever. Can any other history...
Okay, and I'll play your last one here. I think it's good.
You know that white pointy hat group that was founded in 1865, the one that's 160 years old? And in all of that time, the United States never once labeled it a terrorist organization? A group that lynched, burned, bombed, and terrorized Black Americans for generations. They not only avoided the label of terrorists, but also for decades operated as a nonprofit. Tax exempt. Under the protection of the same government whose citizens they murdered. So to be clear, you can be brown, Muslim, or even just have the wrong name, and you're viable to be put on a watch list. And the system will brand you as a threat in seconds. Apparently, also, if you say that fascism is bad, you're on a list. But the pointy white hat crew, they can march in daylight. They can host rallies. They're protected by free speech. So when people talk about law and order or who the real terrorists are, remember who's been allowed to actually terrorize this country without consequence. Maybe the issue isn't that America can't identify terrorists. Maybe the issue is who America chooses to protect from that definition. Because if the pointy white hats still aren't on that damn list, then the problem is not national security, it's national hypocrisy.
All right, good 3 videos, Michael. Remember, if you guys bring me some stuff that I won't get hit with music or whatever, I try to play them to satisfy my audience. Anyway, folks, let me just let you know that, like I told you earlier on, got my brother-in-law in, was very excited to have him in visiting me this weekend. So excited that I had him on my radio show this morning. But anyhow, before we go into that, I want to say welcome Patricia, Lynette, Louis Wolf, Sally Wagner, Jean Rich. How you guys doing? Judy out Lar, Joe from Los Angeles, California. Welcome aboard, my dear beautiful sister, Laura Reagan. And if anybody I miss, we also have Karen. Hey Karen, how you doing? Great to have you here. I played your thing several times. We also have Evelyn Summers. Welcome aboard. Pamela Robertson, Sandra, and many others. Thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate you all for being here. I want to start the program, however, with a piece that I did this morning. And actually, no, I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start with Dr. Theis. Dr. Theis is a good friend of mine, and we were talking about healthcare and the systems. I think this is something that all of you want to know, to learn, and maybe we can elect the right people that would actually affect this. Guys, I'm kind of getting a little bit under the weather, so forgive me if I'm kind of a little bit loopy or off for a bit, but here we go. Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Today I'm honored to have Dr. John Theis, a political science professor at a major college in Texas. We're going to be discussing healthcare. Specifically, we're going to discuss how healthcare is handled in a country that is humane towards its people relative to healthcare. And we're going to also talk about systems that harm. Dr. Theis, thank you so kindly for being here with us on Politics and Right.
Hey, my pleasure, Egberto.
Dr. Theis, tell us, first of all, as you know, in the United States, many progressives are fighting to have health care declared as a human right. It is hard to believe that a country that claims, many, specifically those on the right, that it is a country that believes in the sanctity of life, that this is a subject that isn't really close. Tell us a little bit about how healthcare is done in South Korea.
So, as you know, I'm over here. And what got me thinking about this topic, so a couple of years ago, I was here as a Fulbright scholar, and I had to get a chest x-ray. And so I went and got the chest x-ray, and I thought, oh, this is going to cost me. And it cost me 20,000 won, $15
Wow.
for a chest x-ray. And then this year, I was working with a Korean university, and I had to get a physical and a drug test. So I went to a Korean hospital, got a full physical, drug test, all the blood work, everything. Cost me 55,000 won, which is about $40. So here I am, a foreigner coming to Korea, and the prices are like that. I mean, this is less than my deductible with insurance in the States. I really started talking to people about the healthcare system here, and I was surprised. I have not had a single person tell me they didn't like the healthcare system here. They said, it's cheap. We can go to the doctor when we want. There's no lines. And in fact, that was there's very few lines. When I went and got my x-ray, it took about 20 minutes. When I got my full physical, I was there at less than an hour. It's absolutely amazing to me how good healthcare here is. And so I started doing some research about it. And, South Korea is number one in the OECD on healthcare access. And it's rated the second most efficient healthcare system, according to Bloomberg News. So they're clearly doing something right. And so having grown up here, when I was growing up here in the 60s and 70s, there was no healthcare system at all. People just paid cash. In 1963, they created the ability to buy health insurance. And then in 1977, they made health insurance mandatory for all people. And anybody that worked at a company with 500 or more employees, the employer had to provide the health insurance. And they coupled that with a Medicare program for low-income people. But that was people buying health insurance, right? Mm-hmm. So it was still a market-based system. But in 2000, South Korea created the National Health Insurance Service. And that took all the private insurance companies and combined it into one insurance company. It consolidated all these insurance companies. And then they simply dispensed with the insurance company and went to a single payer system in 2004. And so South Korea currently spends about 8% of its GDP on healthcare. Now that's compared to the United States, where we spend about 18% on our healthcare. And the way they pay for it is 80% of the total dollars come from employee and employer contributions. So every employee pays 3.825%, and every employer pays 3.825%. So it's a total of 7.65% that they pay for their national health insurance program. And that covers 80% of the total costs. Then they have 14% or so as government subsidies, and then 6% from the tobacco surcharge to get to your 100% of the cost of healthcare. Now, some South Koreans also have private insurance. One thing that I noticed, South Korea is the plastic surgery capital of the
Yes.
world,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would think with the government healthcare plan, those kinds of things would be non-existent, but in fact, they allow private competition. So there are all these plastic surgery clinics that are not covered under the healthcare plan, but people are free to go to it. I don't think a national health insurance program necessarily means you can't do other things, that you'll be that restricted. So there's still that kind of innovation. Lots of people are able to pay for additional services that aren't covered, but basic healthcare is covered through the national insurance program. They have complete choice of hospital and doctors. Like, I just looked through basically Naver, which is like a Google app here in Korea, and found the closest hospital and went to it for my physical. So there's no restrictions on that, which is much better than the US, where I have to always find in-network doctors and then get referrals to other in-network specialists, etc. So South Koreans tend to like it. I certainly find it preferable. I waited for both those appointments and the treatments combined. I spent less time than I typically spend for a checkup at my American doctor. And that's with a good insurance plan that's provided through my employer. And I have copays, right? Every time I go see the doctor in the United States. So that's basically how the system works. I think public opinion says they like it. The health outcomes are really a lot better
Than the United States.
than the United States. Yeah.
So let me ask you
Much
this.
lower mortality on things like cancer and diabetes than the United States, much lower women and infant mortality, much higher life expectancy than the United States. So
Now, what you're saying sounds wonderful. And by the way, from a mathematical point of view, as an engineer, that's the only thing that I generally go by, absolutism in math. And when you take a look at looking at the problem from a mathematical point of view, it is clear that if you have a single payer and you eliminate all the different types of waste that you get from having multiple CEOs, multiple CFOs, multiple advertising agencies that has to try to sell your insurance product, multiple databases that maintain things, risk assessment, which if there's one risk pool, there's no risk assessment that is really necessary at all. What is the drawback? What could somebody in the United States who learned about the South Korean system say is the drawback of such a system?
Well, so I've been looking at that, and there's several drawbacks. I mean, the costs are, because every year the government negotiates with doctors groups on prices. So doctors complain about the prices, and they occasionally go on strike. Okay, at least some doctors do. So what I've identified as some of the problems is they have one of the lowest number of doctors per capita of any OECD country. So places like Norway, Portugal, Denmark, which are also, by the way, single payer systems, have double the number of doctors that South Korea has. But interestingly enough, South Korea has 2.5 doctors per 1,000 population. The US only has 2.8. So we're not that far ahead of them on that. Another big issue is that South Korea, about half the population live in Seoul, the capital city. The other half are scattered throughout the rest of the country. So there's obviously a bias towards Seoul and to big urban areas. So rural areas are having problems with keeping hospitals open and doctors. But once again, that is not particularly different from the United States. Okay. The final thing, and this I think is different, is there's a really low proportion of nurses because the pay is low. I think that has to do with several reasons. One is primarily this was a patriarchy for a very long time, and women were nurses.
Mm-hmm.
So the nurses' pay is low. So they have a low ratio of nurses, much lower than the United States.
Now, that said, given that they are spending 8% of their GDP on healthcare, and we're spending about 18% of our GDP on healthcare, it seems like all those problems that you talk about, low pay for nurses, less doctor ratio, etc. Even though with that low doctor ratio, their outcomes are much better than the United States, and sometimes doctors going on strike. It seems like because we have our pot of healthcare money is so large that those would be small issues to mitigate if we convert it to a single payer system, and one that we don't allow drug companies to gouge us. I mean, many would say, well, a lot of innovation would go because a lot of profit would be gone. But isn't it true as well? And this is a compound question. Isn't it true as well that a lot of the research and development that we have is actually already paid for by the government and universities that are funded by the government?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. And these drug companies sell the exact same drugs in Korea or Canada or Mexico at a fraction of the cost that they sell it to the United States. I mean, we could have our healthcare expenditure and still have a better healthcare system. Because we would negotiate prices, we would not pay incredibly high drug prices. And I think one thing you left out is profit for not-for-profit, for hospitals, for their stockholders. We don't need to do that. I mean, and doctors' offices who deal with 8, 10, 12 different insurance companies have to have a person just to deal with those different insurance companies, their regulations, their different paperwork. All that would be eliminated. I mean, I've always said, if you don't want to create a national healthcare system, if you're opposed to that, then let's give more choice. Let's let people decide if they can take their private health insurance their employer pays them. They can buy on the marketplace, or they can buy into Medicare. Your choice. And employers, you can buy into Medicare for your employees, or you can buy private health insurance. People who support the private health insurance market don't want to see that as an option. They don't want us to have more choice because they know what everybody's going to do. Everybody is going to end up, it might not be immediately, it might take 5 or 10 years or 15 years, but people will move to Medicare because it's cost efficient and its administrative costs are only, I think, about 3 or 4%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas private health insurance administrative costs are 30%.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing. I think what we need are more stories of reality. What I love with the way you presented the system from South Korea is that you pointed out how it is funded. You pointed out how it is successful. You pointed out your personal experience with it. You pointed out what the current polling is about how the people feel about that particular healthcare system. You pointed out that it only takes 8% of GDP, and you pointed out that the outcomes are far better than the United States. And you have actually lived in it, used it, and saw its performance. It wasn't anecdotal. It is something that you saw.
Well, I think that's really important. I wish more Americans would travel outside the United States beyond the resorts of Mexico or Jamaica, because there are lots of ways to deal with problems in your society. No one country has all the answers, so we can learn from other places. But what I see a lot in the United States is people saying we're the best, reflexively, even when that isn't true, and saying we don't need to learn anything else from anybody else. And I think that's really dangerous. It leads to worse public policies, especially for those with the least power. People with power in our society, people with wealth, yeah, they live a different kind of life. But those of us that are middle class, working class, poor, those of us in the bottom 90%, we live a different life than that 1%. And things are not always how we would like them to be. And we can learn a lot from other countries and how they've dealt with some of these problems. We can learn things that they did well. We can also learn things that they did badly and that we should avoid.
Dr. John Theis, I think that's a perfect sentiment to end this discussion on. I think we've learned a lot. I think this is a message that needs to go through, especially now. And it is exactly what we intend to do. Thank you so kindly for once again having been on Politics Done Right.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Egberto. I'll come on anytime.
Anyway, folks, thank you for listening to that. We have some other videos that I need. This one is another important one. I want you to listen to actually, first, let me do this. My brother-in-law was in town, and he came to visit. Actually, he drove from San Antonio. He's with my sister at one of her conferences. He drove from San Antonio to look for her. Anytime he comes around, I love hanging with him. And I asked him to be on the show this morning, and he told his personal experience. His personal experience as being an immigrant and what he went through in the fields, etc. I want you guys to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. As you see, well, let me just go ahead and play it.
I had a great weekend, guys. I got a call, and the call said, "Hey, Berto, I'm in town. I'm here with your sister for a conference." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" "No, that's not real. That's not real, because I love this man." And I got a visit from my brother-in-law. How you doing this morning, Arturo?
Good morning, everybody. This is Arturo Jacobo. Greetings from Southern California.
Hey, and so that you're going to see coming up on the screen that we even have folks getting up in the mornings at 4 to listen to Politics Done Right. Hey, should I pick a bone with my own brother-in-law that doesn't get up at 4 in the mornings to listen to Politics Done Right when he's in California?
Gotta do better. I gotta do better.
Man, I tell you.
But we are interested in politics, just the way you guys are here.
All right. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Let me tell you something, guys. I am an immigrant, as all of you know, from Panama. My sister's an immigrant from Panama. And my sister's husband, Arturo Jacobo, an immigrant from Mexico. Love this guy. He's come over here, done a lot. He worked for Caltrans as one of their engineers, actually lead engineers, actually manager, who built a part of, was it Interstate 5?
Interstate 5.
Interstate 5 in San Diego. An immigrant, big part of supporting this country. I want you to have a few words to say, Arturo, because, we talk a lot about immigration and the immigrant and what's happening. And a lot of people don't understand it is real. Here we are in this great country and having the issues that we have today. You had some thoughts.
Yeah, as a son of immigrant parents who worked in the field, I worked in the field 45 years ago throughout high school. And even when I went to college, my first couple of summers, I went back. And there were a lot of legal people and a lot of undocumented people. And so what I saw back then, I saw a lot of raids by ICE, which we call in Spanish, la migra. And I saw them chasing people who had come to this country, left their culture, left their families, and they're here working, providing the food that we serve in our table. Thanksgiving is coming up, and I can guarantee you the food when we do our blessing at the table, it was done by people at the bottom. So for me, it's very sad to see that back then when I saw La Migra eyes chasing people, beating people, kicking people, I didn't think I will ever see that again in the United States. So for me personally, it is sad to see how these people who have come here for the sole purpose of providing to their family, to see how low we have come as a humanity in this great country of the United States, which is still a great country, and that's why so many people still want to come here. We got to do everything that we can. We have to participate, and we just have to keep on getting the word out that this is not how we are. This is not how we should be as a country. If we truly are to have better days ahead of us, better years ahead of us, I think it's going to take all of us from all spectrums of society to participate, to donate, to get engaged, to participate, to send letters, and so on and so on. But from my perspective, I see a country. I see so much hate towards those people that we need. These are the people that are cleaning our offices, that are cleaning our toilets, that are serving the food in the back and the restaurants, and that are getting the food for us at our table. So get engaged. I think it's wonderful. And for all those listeners in the great state of California, remember, yes, on Proposition 50. That's the redistricting proposition that is hoping to provide the additional seats in Congress that we are going to be losing here in Texas.
Muchas gracias, hermano. Muchas gracias, hermano. Anyway, let me tell you something, guys. So again, this is real, and people have lived lives in this country, making differences in this country. And for a charlatan like the current president of the United States to come along and try to do the things that he's doing and harangue the people that he's haranguing, it is a shame.
Since your brother's from California, I'd like to hear what he thinks about Gavin Newsom, because I think Newsom will probably be the best Democratic candidate running in the next national election.
The governor is very popular in California. I mean, California, by and large, is a Democratic state, but there are very high pockets of Republican in the Orange County and in the Central Valley. But he's very popular. We're hoping that he will make a run for the presidency for 2028. I think he has a great chance. I know he will have the backing of at least California and a lot of the blue states, but he's done well for California. I mean, he talks the talk, he walks the talk. He's trying to do stuff for the homeless, trying to do stuff for the undocumented people, and so we're hoping he has a lot of great ideas. He's had a tough years with the fires, in this year in California with the fires and so many homeless, unhoused people that we have in California. And so we're hoping he'll do great things. And yeah, I mean, he will have my vote right now if he was to run for president.
Muchísimas gracias, hermano. Hey, Jimmy, thank you so kindly for your call, and you keep up doing your good works. You're one of my guys. You have a good one, brother. All right.
Well, thank you. Keep up the good work on the show.
Thank you, brother.
Arturo, do you think your brother-in-law is nuts?
Well, he's certainly very smart, and I know he's passionate about what he does for a living.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. I want to give my brother-in-law the last word from the studio.
Well, once again, thank you so much, Berta, for having me. I am very impressed and moved by what I heard here today and everything that your program is doing for people, and seeing how well engaged the community is. So thank you. I admire what you guys are doing. And so thank you. It's great what you're doing.
I appreciate you, brother. Let me throw it to El Estudio with the two geniuses, El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jack Van Bibba.
Anyway, just wanted to kind of bring that out. This is what I did this morning on my show. And yes, to Proposition 50. But what I want you guys to get out mostly of that conversation is his story about working in the fields, not only when he was in elementary school, not only when he was in high school, not only when he was in college, but throughout. And this guy, after doing all of that, being a part of the grain of America, became a lead engineer, manager in Caltrans, to build parts of I-5. And, you sit down and wonder what our problem is with those of us fighting against immigration, etc. It is completely ridiculous. Uh, is your Bill a fan of Gavin Newsom? Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. All right, Basel Aswad, thank you so kindly for becoming a member level member on YouTube. Appreciate you becoming a member, my dear brother. All right, let's see. Para ver qué más tengo aquí, we have Lynette says, yes, anyone who is around 7 a.m. Eastern, come join us at 7 a.m. She's advertising for my morning show on KPFT 90.1 FM. Thank you, girl. I thank you. Our Ernie Boxall says, remember, it was empathy that brought child sex traffickers and teenagers. No, actually, it wasn't. It was your president, Donald Trump, along with Epstein, who apparently used to mess with young girls and prostitute them, etc. We don't know exactly what Trump's involvement is, but we sure know that nobody's trying to get the Epstein's files out. But we do know that Brother Trump was convicted of sexually assaulting a woman. So let's be clear here, Boxall. You don't have the moral ground to stand on. You have zero morality to stand on. Anybody that would starve kids, zero morality. Anybody that would let people lose their insurance, zero morality. So if you want to have, as a MAGA person, if you want to have an educated discussion, a sensible discussion, an informed discussion, I will always be open civilly to talk to you. But when you bring junk based on information that only proves a lack of critical thinking, don't expect me to simply say, oh, Mr. Boxall. No, you're simply wrong. And if you keep making statements like that, people will get the impression that there's not a whole lot upstairs. All right, let's go to the next video. This one is on empathy and engaging MAGA, and it actually goes well with what I have to say right here. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
I have to start with a blog that I wrote this weekend because this is important, and you guys know that we all have our strong beliefs. We believe in our values, etc. It is a must. But here is the thing. We also have to engage. And by engage, I mean we have to talk to the other side and find a way. So the piece that I wrote was called Beyond the Choir. Let's stop doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It is said that the insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. In this regard, being in a constant state of polarization is insanity. I put myself in a position to engage people of opposing ideology virtually every day. In fact, yesterday I was with a group that I don't necessarily align with in a lot of things. I align with in their social aspects, in their economic aspects, but there are other things I don't. But I went there, I engaged, we had a great conversation. That's what we got to do. It used to be very stressful internally, but over time, it has created a skin thickening that has allowed me to give an inordinate grace and compassion to listen to the other side, whether it is talking to MAGA, conservatives, evangelicals, white nationals, and permutations of all of any of them, or challenging them always after listening first. And notice what I said, listening first. To be clear, I am not asking that every progressive attempt to meet MAGA where they are. In fact, I'm not even placing judgment on those who refuse. Why? Because it would not be fair. That said, some of us must do so lest we will never recover from the path of decline we're on. That is, allowing the puppeteering of President Trump into autocracy. Engaging the other side is fraught with disappointment, even after appealing to common humanity and seemingly changing their minds and hearts. Recidivism rates remain very, very high. Human nature tends to revert to its original form unless a traumatic trigger has caused the change. And that is where we are now. We must make lemonade out of these lemons. Trump and his cabal are literally selling out the country. In doing so, the results of their policies will affect every American. More importantly, it will affect MAGA and red state much more than it will affect the rest of the country. Again, remember that all these bad things that are going to happen, that have started to happen on November 1st, when people see their insurance bill, it's going to hurt MAGA a lot more. It will be traumatic as they get an outcome they thought, MAGA thought, would be solely relegated to those undesirable liberals. And that is the crack that those of us who are willing to take the flak as we build a sufficient level of trust to engage must break through. This is the opportunity. This is that trauma that I'm talking about. People make changes and they no longer revert to form if you can catch the trauma. There is the trauma now. Above and beyond doing this work, since my days as a board member of the now defunct Coffee Party USA, a transpartisan organization, I work with those who are also interested in doing this type of engagement. I even try to blend the techniques in my active journalism. And notice I call activist journalism because that's what we do here. We don't follow that little simple journalism of the past that says he said, she said, without actually taking factual, fact-based opinion and actions. We take action. And in talking to the right, even on the radio and other media shows that we do. While many castigate me, Egberto, we need to expend the energy on getting our own to vote. They say, but you know what? I disagree. We must do both. The sad reality is that sometimes it is easier to flip a person who has a propensity to vote than to count on those who generally do not vote. I want to pause there and kind of qualify that. People who have that voting nerve, that voting touch, they're used to voting. They're always going to go out there and vote no matter what. Those are the people you know you can count on. If you can flip a few of those folk, you know that's a vote coming. There are folks who never vote. They don't have that fight hard and we expend a lot of energy to get them to vote. And yeah, they may vote here and there, but not consistently. The rain may come, it may drizzle. They'll find any excuse not to vote. That's just how some folks are wired, even as they feel the pain, because people have been feeling the pain, but they still don't vote. If you work on the voting population as well, yes, try to convert a non-voter into a voter. But those people who have a propensity to vote, they will continue voting. They are vulnerable now. When you are going to go from being insured all your life to not be able to be insured now because it's going to cost you $1,000, $2,000 more a month, that's a traumatic thing. We have to let people understand what's causing that trauma. That trauma is caused by, yes, their previous vote. We're not going to say it that way, but that trauma is caused by the current instantiation of our politics, and it's something we can do about it. And again, the pain Trump is inflicting on voting MAGA has opened cracks to give us entry if we choose to go in. And you know what, baby? We're going in. I saw a group yesterday that I spoke to. They're going in. They are on the ground. We all need to be on the ground. Remember No King's Day? I could not have been more impressed. Our Kingwood folk, just a drop in the bucket, brought out 10 times the amount of folks we have ever gathered here for a protest. That's what I'm talking about. I choose to visit their space, engaging respectfully and civilly without compromising my progressive values, as I lay out a clear path from them to realize that the policies we support are more in line with their wants and needs than the polarized vision they have. This action is not mutually exclusive from informing and activating our own base. It is real, folks. A caller on my KPFT 90.1 FM show, this show, asked the prescient question: why should we have compassion for all these people who voted for Trump or stayed home, given that Trump is doing everything he said he would? Rather than blame them, I pointed out a reality that I have accepted for myself. We had not informed convincingly or made the case. Instead of blaming, which I also do periodically in my weaker moments, we must continue to try tactics that meet them where they are and reach them. You hear what I'm saying, folks? Reach them. We will be unsuccessful with the immutable, but there are enough who can become rational when removed from their echo-chambered bubble.
All of our country. Absolutely so, folks. Now I have one last video and then anybody can give me a call. All right, here is the last video. This one is a positive on yay, we're doing it. Let's see. E2247 says, Egberto, the use of the term autocracy is obsolete in discussing 47's criminal regime. The terms oligarchy and dictatorship are now appropriate. Please use those terms. I hear you, brother. I hear you, brother. And a lot of people don't quite see autocracy either. Well, we'll use them interchangeably. All right, let's go ahead and get this last one out. At last is all I can say. At last. Before I get even started, I want you to listen to Congressman Joe Neguse of Colorado. This is the way you handle a mainstream media that completely adapts the narrative of the right wing, the narrative of Donald Trump, the narrative of MAGA. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
If we come to November 1st and these contingency funds haven't been released, if nothing has been accomplished in restoring SNAP benefits, will you call on your Democratic colleagues to reopen the government and deal with these shutdown crises immediately, deal with healthcare conversations once the government is reopened?
So let me ask you a question. The basis for your question is, and maybe the better way to state it would be, if the Trump administration continues to violate the law, if the Trump administration unlawfully refuses to release funds so that families in Colorado don't go hungry, if the Trump administration refuses to follow the law as they have for the better course of the last 9 months, violating statute after statute, if in that scenario these actions unfold, then how will Democrats respond? That, my view, would be a more fair characterization of the question that you've posed, because it does feel a little bit like we're in the twilight zone here with an administration that is lawless, violates the law with impunity, is now doing so with respect to the release of funds for families that may go hungry. We're here in Washington. You're here in Washington. House Republicans are gone, 6 weeks and counting, gone, literally gone. Won't show up in Washington, won't do town halls back in their respective districts. And somehow the question is posed to House Democrats as to how we will respond. The Trump administration needs to follow the law. And insofar, you've heard all my colleagues repeatedly suggest we would like to negotiate an agreement in good faith with our Republican colleagues. That is why we're here in our nation's capital. The question should be posed to Republicans. When will they get serious about working with us in good faith so that we can reach an agreement? The passion you hear is frustration with the fact that Republicans could just simply abandon their post for 6 weeks, that the Trump administration can just violate the law without consequence. It should offend everyone. It certainly offends me.
So Joe Neguse nails it. He points out, why ask Democrats what they are going to do when it turns out that the people that are breaking the law, the people that are starving these people, the people that are putting cops on the streets, are putting the military in the streets, these are the people you should be asking them, why are you breaking the law? Don't ask what are Democrats going to do to open the government back. Ask, why are these people doing illegal things? Why are these people starving our kids? Why are these people getting rid of our rights? Why are these people doing, the president of the United States along with his cabal, why are they doing what they're doing? When you start asking those questions, media, then we can take you seriously. Then we can consider that it's worth answering your questions. And folks, that is why we are here. Because if you hear these silly questions, it is like, okay, what Democrats are going to do if the president, well, if you go ask the president what he's going to do, is he going to serve the constituents of the United States of America? Don't ask us. Ask the president. Is he going to stand for all these people losing their insurance? Don't ask me. Ask the president. Don't give me a right-wing talking points that is completely devoid of morality, completely devoid of truth. Go ask the president. Anyway, folks, the telephone number is 281-823-7747. Give me a call. I don't have anything more videos or anything else. I repeat the number, 281-823-7747. give me a call. Anybody? Thank you for having been here, Michael Rudnin. Hey, my buddy from El Deneuve, welcome aboard, my friend. We also have E2247. Autocracy, oligarchy, and dictatorship, they are not interchangeable, but I could show you a definition of autocracy on top, and under that you have dictatorship and oligarchy. And you can either have dictatorship plus oligarchy in parallel or them one superimposed upon each other, E2247. Bruce says, in the end, we need single provider for everyone now. I agree with you. That'll save us billions of dollars. Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas. Paul Fleming, how you doing from Powder Springs, Georgia? Thank you for being here, my brother. Uh, and also, I think I saw my buddy from Long Beach, California in here. Is he in here? Long Beach, California. Yeah, Maywood is in the house, but I can't find him right now. I think he had said something. All right. What's up, Harry? Talk to me.
Hello there, Berto. This is Harry one more time. Well, I was talking with my friend. I had to, I was giving him his condolences yesterday because his wife passed away a few weeks ago. This is my friend from California, and we do talk politics from time to time. And he's always saying, "Well, Harry, it's the Democrats' fault why the government is shut down." And I said, "No, it isn't. It is the Republicans' fault. All the Democrats are trying to help people," as Howard Reynolds says many times in his rants on the morning show. They're trying to help people by trying to get the Republicans to negotiate, and the Republicans are being obstinate, and Trump is being obstinate and saying, "Look, we're not going to give you roll back those Medicaid cuts, and we're not going to extend those health care subsidies." Well, then you're going to just let people die. And the same thing, and now Trump was up there talking about, I think he said that on 60 Minutes last night, I have to watch that whole interview, that they want to partially fund the SNAP benefits, which I just got mine renewed and extended. No, that money is for emergency. This is emergency time, and people need their SNAP benefits. I was listening on Al Sharpton's show yesterday morning. He had some people calling up talking about that they depend on SNAP, and if they don't get that, they're going to starve. So as you pointed out, Eberto, this guy has no morals. He just says, well, if you're not wealthy and you can't pay for it all, just go somewhere and die.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much, Harry, for your call, my brother. And I read you this morning as well. You have a good one, my brother.
Right. Thanks.
Hey, welcome aboard. I think I saw who I wanted to call out somebody in the chat here. Forgive me, sometimes the chat just scrolls and I don't get to call out and see everybody. Hey, Cheryl Elkins, welcome aboard. Hey, Cheryl, you're late, girlfriend. But then again, I was late to your chat yesterday. Let me just say that Cheryl has a hell of a group. I told you guys in the morning, but Cheryl has a hell of a group that has great conversation on the current political events. I think if a lot more people would be doing what Cheryl is doing. Oh, you had a board meeting. Okay. All right, you're forgiven, Cheryl. You're forgiven. All right, Uju. Hey, Uju, that's who I was looking for. We miss you in the morning, Uju. You normally, I think we get you in your car or something while you're out there in New York. No, in Florida, right? In Florida. She says, actually, it is our fault. We, the people, have allowed ourselves to be conned that we live in the so-called richest country in the world, but we, as an aggregate, have shitty healthcare, can't afford housing, and have the highest homelessness and poverty than any other developed country. We can do better and need to demand what is owed to all of us. I gave a speech yesterday at the CPUSA, and it was about AI and capitalism. I'm going to cut the speech up and put it out there. But in effect, I'm telling all of us we have to grab AI by its horns and not get rid of it, but make sure that it serves us and that we take ownership of it. It doesn't belong to the wealthy, or it doesn't belong to the oligarchs, it doesn't belong to the billionaires. It is our knowledge. It is ours. And Uju says, yes, life has been life in. Holidays are crazy for me and my family. We have too much to celebrate, so I'll be on as much as I can. I hear you, girl. Let me see. You're Nigerian extraction, right? I think, if I recall correctly. Tell me if I'm wrong. Anyway, we are at the end of the show right now. I want to remind all of you that this is user supported journalism, user supported all this stuff. So if you would be so kind to become paid subscribers of our network, we are hundreds of paid subscribers short to be break even, but you can help us change that. And how can you do that? By going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and become a paid subscriber. You will be, I tell you what, you'll feel good after that, because you know that you're helping us keeping the message out, not only here on the radio, not only here on the internet, not only in our books, not only in all these different platforms, but even out there in the field, as I bring you a whole lot of folks in the field. And I'm going to go process a video that I did yesterday on AI as well. Anyway, got to get out of here. My throat is kind of messed up. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.